Hello, and welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour, the weekly bridge to the future of the piano tech community. I'm David Anderson.
And I'm Ethan Janney. And we're here to ask great questions, and then we'll shut up and listen to some of the authorities, experts, and most outstanding personalities in our little world of pianos.
So, put on your best set of headphones, and let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Really love to see you all. We're getting a especially great volume today from the very beginning, so that's really exciting. Udo, you're a big draw, I suppose. And usually our participant level grows as we continue to stream throughout the hour. I will give a quick notice to those of you that happen to be watching on Facebook or YouTube. And Pooja, if you could, in the chat for Facebook and YouTube as well, put a notice about this so that that can remain up in case people need to join the call with the link to sign up. But we're going to, at about 15 minutes into the session, we're actually going to sign off of Facebook and YouTube, and it will be only accessible to the people that are in the Zoom call. And of course, if you want to access a recording of this session, you can sign up for Piano Tech Radio Hour Direct Access, and we have all the recordings in our member area, so you can definitely view the whole thing at a later date if you like. And I'll give a quick introduction to the program today. First of all, Piano Tech Radio Hour is being brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online educational resource that offers you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at www.pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And on today's show, we have Udo Steingraber, very exciting, from Germany. I think it's around 8 p.m. there. In 1980, Udo took over the direction of the Steingraber & Son Company at the tender age of 24. Along with inventors, he also created a whole new range of products within the brand. He's been the guiding force behind the European Piano Technician degree. Udo has been awarded 2 cultural prizes, one from the city of Beirut, the other from the region of Upper Franconia. And there's much, much more to learn about Udo. And so without further ado, I will hand it over to Udo to just say hello, and then maybe hand it over to David, because I know, David, you know Udo better than me, and you can prod him with something to get started. But Udo, go ahead and say hi.
Hi, and thank you very much for this very nice introduction. I'm really honored that you spent your time with me tonight in this very particular year. We originally wanted to celebrate our 200th anniversary. And so Steingraber the first Steingraber factory was founded in Thuringen, Germany in 1820. So everything was canceled, and I'm really thankful to you that we can talk a little bit about what we are doing, how young we are with our 200 years of age. And it's not so important that I'm 40 years in now. That makes me always afraid a little bit, and I cannot really believe it. David,
it's great to have you here.
I do not see you yet. Where are you on the screen?
David, me?
He's here.
David Anderson. Oh, David, here you are. Hi, how are you?
Man, it's great to see you, brother. Last time we saw each other was at the NAMM show, I think.
Yeah, it's only half a year ago. It seems to be such a long time, but everything changed within that time.
A lot of changes. So I just want to tell everybody that I've had a 15-year history with Udo Steingraber, and he's turned out to be, one of those people that you can say, he's a stand-up guy. he's a good guy. And he's a good guy, which is great, thank God. But he's also an amazing piano obsessive nerd geek. He's probably the most trained and knowledgeable piano maker that exists, I would say, with the possible exception of Michael Spreeman, who makes a one-off piano. I became a Steingraber dealer in 2005. So I got a lot of up close and personal views of Udo and how he dealt with so many different people in so many different situations. And in 2005, few people knew about Steingraber, but not a lot of people. And one guy said to me at one point when I was showing him the Steingraber, this was a fairly famous pianist, and he'd never heard of him, never heard of the piano. And I said, well, come and play it. And he played it. He was literally like dazed and like, what is this? He said, how come I don't know about this?
Probably it's why we are so small.
Yeah. And he said, this is the greatest piano in the world that nobody's ever heard of. Well, 15 years later, pretty much everybody knows about Steingrabers. And that's the beautiful thing. One of the beautiful things that Udo has done in 15 years is to make sure that Steingrabers are known and played and perceived in at least the major American cities and talked about all over the internet, all over these forums in the internet. And the reason that that's all happening is because they're legitimately, one of the 2 or 3 finest pianos in the world. They're awesome instruments. If all you piano technicians have never put your hands on a Steingraber, you're in for a treat, man. I could sit here for the next 2 hours and talk about there's the things on the Steingraber that I really like. There's only like 2 things I don't know. But there's dozens of things that I really like about the Steingraber. And so all I can say is that Udo has a wealth of experiences. And one thing I'd like to do, whether this show or another show, is to really ask you, my brother, what the feeling of the artists are that you interface with, that you've interfaced with for decades. What are the feelings of those artists about first Steingraber and what the piano they're playing is like, but then just like, what is their favorite part of a piano? What makes them the happiest when it's to their liking when they come up with the piano? That's a fascinating. So I definitely want you to talk about a bit of the history of Steingraber.
Okay. So when I thank you, David. Too much. 40 years ago, when I took over the job for my father, it was a decision to continue a former high-end brand, which was a little bit sleepy after the Second World War's time. We stopped, for example, building concert grands in 1939, and it lasted until the end of the 1990s, where we went back to the high-end club by going ahead with a new production on the basis of an 1894 design of a concert grand, our E272, the 9-footer. And the basic thinking of all the different models we created during these last 40 years, 5 grand piano models and 3 upright piano models, was what's the reason to have another brand besides all the high-end brands which are existing, and mainly Steinway. And our decision was no imitation from anyone, but create your own character of tone, of touch, be classical and very traditional, but combine it with as much innovation as you can. And there is a lot to do because, as you know, the major brands in the market, so the big brothers of little Steingraber, they are continuing their brilliant work from the which they formed with the construction designs by the turn of the 19th century to the 20th. So for 100 years, there was very little innovation. And focusing of one sound ideal, one character of sound brilliance, orchestral imitation, presence, strong pianos, all that is good, but why should we imitate it? So we were deciding already in the 1980s to go for a former ideal at first. The ideal of tone, which was in the world of Beethoven, of Schumann, Schubert, Chopin, which was in the times afterwards, in the second half of the 19th century, replaced by these strong and powerful orchestral instruments. So we focused on colors, on transparency, on polyphony, and then we tried to improve the action by making it quicker, to increase, for example, the up weight without having a strong counterweight against the finger, but an elegant touch which is quicker than normal. All that was a work of a club of 5 people in our construction design staff. 3 of them didn't change in these 14 years, so it's a very traditional club. But step by step, we found things which were fascinating our big bosses. And our big bosses from you and from us are the piano players, and especially the professional pianists. And I am convinced that we should offer the world of music, the people who are spending their life with music, we should enrich their lives by having alternative sounds and alternative touches and a big variety of different brands. So I'm always happy when there are new products in the market. Probably somebody of you knows a colleague in France, Stéphane Polello, who recently brought out his new 120 notes concert grand, straight strung. And all these is showing that our world of piano in the last at least 25, but I think a little bit more years became richer than it was in all over the 20th century. The 20th century was compared with the 19th century, the century of not the century for pianos. I'm in the city of Bayreuth, and our biggest musician here was Mr. Wagner. Unfortunately, not Mr. Liszt. Our favorite is Mr. Liszt. But Richard Wagner's operas destroyed somehow towards end of the 19th century the world of the pianists. It was replaced. The composers didn't continue with piano music. They continued mostly with operas. So, and now in the last decades, more and more piano comes up in the minds of the general and big auditoriums, and pianists are again the top musicians in the world of music. And that's why we were in the last 15 years more and more thinking what can we add to the piano that it's becoming even more interesting. And so we first looked in the history.
I'm actually gonna interrupt you real quick, Udo,
yes,
and
sure.
That's just to say that for anybody that's on Facebook, YouTube, just to give you a heads up, we'll be signing off our live stream now. Just make sure and subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour to view the recording, or check for a link in the chat to register for today's session free, and you can join us on Zoom. I just want to give people a heads up on that. But yeah, we'll continue the session with Udo Steingraber, and he's really talking about the philosophy of his company. And we've got a lot more to talk about. I actually have a question in the chat. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pop in this question just to make sure some people are getting a chance to participate, and see if you can follow up to it. So Mark Campbell asks, the information age has made many industries either obsolete or at best constantly changing. While pianos have been one thing that has held to its traditions, it too is changing. And, you know, to the best of your knowledge, he asks, what can we expect both near term and long term, and how can we prepare? So if you want to speak to that a little bit, that'd be very interesting to hear your thoughts.
Piano is in fashion more than now, more than in the mid of the 20th century. I do not know the numbers of the US, but in Germany, in state music schools, the number of students doubled within the last 40 years. That is okay. The reunification made Germany bigger, but when you deduct all the statistical failures, it's still 25% more than 1980 in 2019. That's astonishing, and that's not digital piano, that's acoustic piano. When you look to China, they are talking about 60 million piano students there, and this number is increasing. I think, especially this awful year 2020 with its COVID times and restrictions, showed us that people need something to do at home. And more people are focusing on music. So I think the horrible pandemic will finally give our branch a positive outlook, because people realize more than before how important it is to have something for his own, to be creative for his own, to be able to have a good time at home in especially such times of Corona. So I think even the very traditionally made pianos, so their number is shrinking all the time, but the total number of produced pianos on the globe increased during the last years. That means that we have a good future, and the more people are buying average or low-class pianos, the more the percentage will increase for the high end as well. No problem for our future.
So tell me, I'm curious to bring this in, because I think we were just talking about this before we actually started. I don't think we brought this in the chat yet. You were saying that business is not too bad for you right now. Can you speak to why you think that is, or if that's true? Did I catch that right?
So we had 2 months with zero, March and April. But from May on, it increased, and we could, in our retail store, which is a smaller part of our business, but in our retail store here in Bayreuth, Germany, we doubled our business compared with the previous year, and we had no better year within the last 10 years. It is astonishing.
Maybe I should pop in here and say that the dealers that I know, that I'm familiar with in the United States, and 3 of them are Steingraber dealers, have all experienced amazing sales over the past.
Okay, same.
It's paradoxical. It's weird. Why would it be more in a so-called depression? Because people of resources have money, and they're good to spend in, and if they're freaks for music and play and love to play, then why not spend it on something really good for themselves, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, David. People have more money right now because they don't spend it for vacation and for trips with the family, and less in the restaurants. But this is only momentarily. But the real outlook in the future is even better than now, because more and more youngsters wish to play the piano, and our world changed somehow to a more traditional attitude. I've got the impression. So the younger people are more linked to traditional habitudes. But this is a personal observation I can do here in Europe. I don't know whether it's the same in the US. But the major message is we all are having a good future ahead. And concerning Steingraber, you asked me before to step into the innovation theme. We tried just recently to improve the modernism of the piano in a very special way by creating a transducer piano, and for that we involved two universities, 2 experimental physical studios, and 1 sound innovator in France. So it is not a simple work of piano technicians. It's a work where many scientists were involved as well. And this transducer piano is piano of the future. There is the biggest world the biggest festival of contemporary music of the world is in the little village in southwest Germany, Donaueschingen, and the big first settings of new pieces in the last big festival by end of 2019 were done with this piano, and you can play on 3 different levels: acoustic live, acoustic electronic, and recorded electronics. You have even the possibility to use it as a master keyboard for the electronic. The Music University of Vienna contributed a program which is enabling you, for example, to play the quarter tone pieces of Charles Ives. So the procedure is the pianist is playing on the basis of 429 pitch of A, chamber A, and then he records that. Then he starts again playing live in the acoustic piano with a pitch of 440. So the 429 were done by the computer program of modern piano tech, and now the innovation comes. The recorded piece is following the tempo and the agogic from the live playing in the acoustic keyboard. So you are not limited like in former times in the -1 combination. This is one of the things people are fascinated by that, and that increases the club of piano lovers once again. But at first, during the last 10 years, we tried to look into the past of the piano, because it was so much forgotten after the mid of the 19th century, when the piano had the biggest success. We all know that pianos had 6 pedals up to the year 1840. That means that from the mid-aged Beethoven to the mid-aged Chopin, all the compositions, all the music was invented by the composers playing with pianos with 6 pedals, having a second soundboard on top, having features most of us even don't know anymore. So the question is, isn't it interesting to listen to these pieces on a modern piano, not on a museum piece, having the features of the former times? And the first step was, and that was a pianist, Jura Margulis and Marta Argerich. Jura wanted to record a Schubert CD with an original sordino. The sordino is a strip of felt sliding in between the gap of the string and the hammer. And this sordino function enables, for example, an FP, so play, forte, and piano at the same time. You'll find it in every score of Schubert. You find FP notations, but nobody can play it on a modern piano. And what the effect is fascinating. The French, for the Pleyel and Arras, by mid of the 19th century, they called this pedal the pédale céleste, so the heavens sound pedal. They did it with leather, and the Viennese, so Brav, Streicher, and so on, they used felt. And this is the next question. So I can show it to you probably. So this is the, okay, can you see it?
Yep.
So here you have, I didn't test this before. This is the strip, and this goes by the pedal function. So we are offering a fourth pedal, or, and that's the normal version, an interchange with the sostenuto. There is a handrail on top of the lyre, and when you press it to the rear, the sordino comes. When you press it forward, then you have the ordinary sostenuto function. And what you see here is, oh no, they didn't fit it in yet. Here is our Mozart rail, which is one of the features from the history as well. The Mozart rail enables the pianist to adapt the key dip. It is interesting because our patent dates back to the year 1896. And we created, my forefathers created a piano for Engelbert Humperdinck, the composer. Probably you know the opera Hansel and Gretel. And he wanted not the shift pedal, the una corda. He wanted to have the key dip lower by pressing the left pedal, and to make the, now I'm missing a word in English, oh my, the distance, the blow distance of the hammer. We propose it today with a handrail where you can choose before you start playing in between 8 and 10.3 millimeter the key dip. And this is used by more and more pianists. We've got even tenders saying we are purchasing a piano with a Mozart rail. Very nice for us because nobody else can offer it. But it shows us that there is really a need within the younger generations of pianists to enrich the piano again, to go further beyond the piano which we had for more than 100 years, black polished 9-foot 3 pedals, 88 keys. People want more, and people wish to have more possibilities for their expression, for their thoughts in music and their interpretation.
It's interesting. We had it's just an interesting avenue for an artist to make themselves unique and distinct and to stand out. We had Eric Chu here on a previous episode, and he was talking about his pedal techniques, but he had done some really interesting things that you couldn't do in a different era, like play a concert with 2 pianos where he's both pianists, and the second piano is actually a recording of him playing the other part, and simultaneously playing a video where you can see him playing that piece at the same time. And I think that's a really great point, why, as artists are meant to push boundaries, they're not meant to fit into what already exists and keep repeating the past. So I love that point that you make about that being an avenue to stand out. Yeah.
And I must say that I've personally experienced all these effects on a piano that I've both played and heard being played in Los Angeles. there was a piano there with all those effects. I can't quite remember what piano it was, but it was internally.
I think you're talking about the E272 from the NAMM show this year, and the booth was all the time crowded, and
it was an amazing.
People came back and again, and what they did you have a
no?
What we were doing at the same time in a totally different area of piano technique and building was to look for new materials. And the first we started already by 2006 was to make experiments with carbon fiber soundboards. So that was a long way with a lot of trash we had to rebuild during the experimental phase. But at the end, we have now a second line of pianos with carbon fiber soundboard, not entirely carbon fiber, they are hybrids with maple that contributes high partials. So carbon fiber itself was by far too basic toned to not bright enough, not clear, especially not clear enough. I must say, a carbon fiber soundboard is never as good as a wooden one. It brings the high partials a bit down in the treble, and it raises them in the bass register. It is louder than a wooden one, but not prettier. But one example, when the Bayreuth Festival was cancelled in the year 2020 by COVID, the city officials were creating an open-air festival as a replacement. And 1 week there was a jazz festival by last week of August this year. And they needed a piano on the stage. The stage is a swimming stage in a little lake and the open air around. The piano had to stand there for 1 week, day and night. We started the day of delivery. We had 35 degrees Celsius. Let me check. It must be around 95 Fahrenheit. And the last 3 days, after 3 days of the 1 week, it started raining, and it went colder and colder. And at the end of the week, we had 1 week during the night, it was only 8 degrees Fahrenheit. That must be around, I think, 45 Fahrenheit. We had a piano with carbon fiber soundboard there, and it stayed the whole week through, and there was no problem. And we had very few time to go for the tunings, because they had sometimes 2 concerts a day. The setting of the stage, the change of the musicians, all that needs a long time, all the time. So we are always coming at the last ones. And same in the year 2016, we served a European tour, which was called Frank Sinatra Jubilee 100 years, 100th birthday of Frank Sinatra. Sinatra and Friends was a title, and it started by 3rd of January and ended by 3rd of April 2016, and there were 90 days, and in these 90 days we had to serve 110 concerts. because quite often 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. Concert, and in the weekend time, and very often change of the city. So out of the hot hall, under the hot spots, in the European wintertime, in the truck going for the next city, with a wooden soundboard, you cannot serve such a tour. So that is a big advantage. But other material innovation, which is now serving every concert grand and semi-concert grand of Steingraber, are our super light vibration mainlets. They are extremely light, approximately 23 kilo. And a one-on-one is more than 50 kilo with MDF normally, or plywood or chipboard. And there we learned from the old piano builders, which had the wrong
I'm
table.
sorry, I'm just going to cut it for a second. So, okay, a couple of things. One, there's some questions in the chat. I don't know if we'll ever get to them, but it's a tough decision because you have a lot of interesting things to say. But the last thing that you mentioned, the last technology that you mentioned, can you just explain again a little bit more detail what that is and the name of it? I don't think I caught it. Maybe no.
The
vibration. What is it? Vibration.
Vibration lid. The main
vibration lid. Okay.
Look here. This is
the main lid of the
main lid of the top lid of the concert grand, which is only 24 kilo now. And there we learned from the old piano builders, which had a second soundboard on top of the soundboard over the strings, retrofittable, so you could take it out or put it in. We have in our piano museum, we have one historical Pape piano, Paris 1832, which has such a board. And everyone is thinking that when you cover the strings with a wooden board, it interferes into the brilliance, into the volume. It can't be good. The opposite is correct. When you take it out, it's thinner. When you take it in, the sound has more substantial partials. It is not affecting in a bad way the treble. So the result of this knowledge is that our heavy main lids on top of the pianos cannot be good for the sound. They can probably be good for the first impulse sound, the strike. So the first millisecond of our hearing, because the sound goes up and directly without any counterpart which is vibrating to the auditorium. But after this first millisecond, there is no after sound anymore. By far less after sound with a hard and heavy top lid than with a vibrational one. And we piano technicians should know about that, because when we look to an old piano from the 19th century and the first half of the 20th century, they are very thin and very light all the time. And the sound of these pianos is wonderful. And especially the vibration after the strike is longer and fuller than very often today. That told us we must avoid any MDF. We must try to save weight wherever we can in an instrument. The materials like MDF or HDF are strictly prohibited in a good instrument, and even plywood. It's not avoidable, as you know. We need it for the bridge. We need it for the rim. But where we can, we should avoid it. So my knowledge from these 40 years in profession is we have to care more about what was going on in our piano world before the 20th century, and the respect for the old industries before the industrial age. So the time of the Graf and Walter pianos and the Ara and Pleyel pianos, that is now they are now more esteemed, and that's necessary and correct that we do that.
Let me shoot to some of these questions here. We got a huge list of questions. Let me see where I can filter in. We've got about, just so you haven't been to the radio hour before, Udo. Usually we sign off right at the end of the hour, so we'll try to squeeze in as much as we can. And of course, it looks like we can have you back. You seem to be enjoying this, and we'd be happy to have you.
It'd be a series, dude. We need to have him back. Absolutely.
I'll just give a quick heads up to the people watching, and that is that we're planning this conference in December, and that's very exciting. It's maybe the 10th to the 12th. Still solidifying the details, but it looks like Udo will be able to send someone from his team to be part of that conference. So we're still working out the details, so no guarantee. David Anderson will be part of that conference. Debbie Sear from North Bennett Street School will be teaching. And Steve Brady will be teaching. Sounds like he wants to teach about dampers, which I think would be really amazing. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. We actually don't have the sign up page yet, but we'll be putting something out there soon so you can participate. Okay, back to the questions. I'm going to hit, is the distinctive pointed shape of the hammers created by original call or by extensive filing, is this ever modified or is it always present? Can you discuss? Do you know what Victoria Gould is talking about when she asked that question?
So probably she's talking about the diamond shape
of your hammers on the Steingrabers.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Let's hear about that. Yeah.
To show you about what we are talking here, this shape.
Got it.
This shape makes the lifespan of a hammer longer. It makes it brighter, and the variability from the very cloudy, very soft pianissimo to a very harsh and striking fortissimo is wider. And the lifespan, for example, when do I have to file the hammer to make the grooves shorter, after which how much time do I have to do that? That, according to our experience, is better with such a shape. In the meantime, we are lucky that Renner, the Renner factory, produces hammers for us which are already pre-shaped. Not at all, not in the entire form. So it leaves a little cap, a half moon shape, where you can voice perfect pianissimo. We call it Wilkinson stitches. So like that. We are going really through the head, because our sound ideal, apart from the individual voicings which we are doing for our pianists and customers as well. So remember, they are our bosses, so we are doing what they are telling us. But the basic proposal of the Steingraber sound is a wide range from really very cloudy, swimming tones, which are not really defined anymore, up to a very precise and polyphonic way, and a very excessive fortissimo. Because I think piano music is not different from the expression needs from an opera. And there is not only love and romantic, it is murder and hate as well. And we piano technicians and voicers have to be courageous enough to leave ugly notes in our pianos. A good pianist needs ugly notes as well. He needs the nice ones and the beloved ones, and he needs the harsh ones. And this range is so important for interpretation and real arts.
Wow, great! Thank you so much for that. I'm gonna skip to another question. This is fascinating. Okay, so Ed Whitting says key dip. Is there the average high-end concert player gravitates to? It seems the trend is to make the dip deeper to compensate for the increasing action weights. Any thoughts on key dip preferences?
I think the key dip was mainly increased to increase the dynamic range. Action weights, you have other possibilities to interfere. You have a huge variety as an action designer, starting with the width of the hammerhead and the strength of the strings and the centerpiece. So I don't think that it is a weight problem. It's a dynamic aspect. And you remember 10 years ago or 8 years ago, the main concert grand manufacturer increased the key dip to 11 millimeter. This was, as far as I know, the initial wish for that came from Asia and from young sportive pianists. And the classical ones really urged a change of opinion at this manufacturer within 2 or 3 years, and they went back to 10.3. As we are always trying and looking to our colleagues and trying the same, what they are doing with 1 or 2 pieces pianos, we tried 11 millimeters as well, and we put one in our own concert hall, and we without telling the pianists anything, and they have always several pianos to select within, and the younger ones had a tendency to the bigger key dip. The more sensitive and the more experienced ones, they stick to the traditional key dip, and we must really see that this is really at a top line already. We must know that Mozart wrote his first piano music on a clavichord with 5 millimeter key dip, and his Walter had 6.5 millimeter key dip, and the Viennese pianos for Beethoven, so the early ones in the beginning 19th century, they had 7 millimeter, and in 1804 Beethoven received at the delivery of his new Era piano from Era London. And it had 8 millimeters key dip. And a letter is existing. Beethoven wrote to his preferred piano technician, which was Nanette Streicher, the daughter of Andreas Stein, the manufacturer for Mozart. And so Nanette Streicher was the head of the piano factory in Vienna, the most famous one together with Graf. And she had to come and to change the Era piano from 8 millimeter to 7 because Beethoven was embarrassed about that. He was writing to her, it's not playable, that piano. Later on, in 1816, Beethoven was waiting for the most modern piano of that time, a Broadwood. So he played mostly the Graf. This was with 7 millimeter Viennese action and his preferred piano. But he had a new composition in mind, the Opus 106. You know about the Hammerklavier Sonate, this longest sonata ever, which was regarded to be unplayable until Bülow's time by end of the 19th century. And for this piano, he waited for the Broadwood, and that had 8 or even 8.5 millimeter. And he was using it for that composition. And afterwards, for the famous 3 last sonatas, Opus 109, 1010, 111, the last Beethoven sonatas, he switched back to the Graf piano with the 7 millimeter. So the interdependence in between key dip and work and composition is obvious. And the need to have adaptable pianos, for me, comes from such knowledges about processes of the creative process of the composers.
Well, so, this is really. Let me cut in, David. Sorry, because we have 3 minutes left. This is really incredibly inspiring, Udo.
It's amazing. I just have to say one more thing.
Go for it. Go for it.
So all of the talk that we've had, and the incredible, inspiring stuff that Udo has told us, the fact remains that when I come up to a tier 1 piano or any Kawai piano really, or even Yamaha piano, but certainly any tier 1 piano, any piano with aspirations to tier 1, the key travel I find on it right out of the box is 10.1, 2, or 3.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's pretty much part of the template now. That's what everybody's going to start off with, because that's what most people in the world like. So yeah, I thought that was important to say. And your pianos too, brother. Beautiful. Beautiful. Your pianos are regulated beautifully.
I pass information to my staff.
Yeah, me too. Alex Kirsten is fantastic, dude.
So I'll cut back in here. Thanks for adding that, David. Yeah, we're just about time to go here. I'll just highlight in the chat here, we've put a place for you to add feedback. So if you particularly liked or had any issues with this radio hour, go to the feedback link and let us know. And you can sign up for $8 a month, so you can always access the recordings of all these sessions and make sure you get a direct link without having to register at the direct access link. You can subscribe to join us. We're actually doing we're doing we're talking about all this action and turbocharging and action, and that's exactly what we're talking about with Jude Reveley's class that's coming up in November. He's going to show you how to turbocharge a grand action with a specific focus on balance weight in that process. And David and I are meeting with a Piano Tech Mastermind every Tuesday now, every week. And you can join that group if you want to join us as an artist and subscriber. That's the last link that we put in the chat there. So, wow. I wish we had, I would sit here for 18 hours or more talking to Udo, or like letting Udo tell me everything that he knows. But unfortunately we have to leave, as we always do at the end of the hour. But what I'd like to do is maybe just take a minute, and send it back to David first, and then David, I'll let you hand it over to Udo to kind of give some final words, and then we'll sign off. But yeah, David, give us a little bit, and then we'll hand it over to Udo.
We've done 15, 20 of these Piano Tech radio hours, and this is one of the most enjoyable by quite a shot. Udo, it's amazing to have you here. It's been amazing to work with you over the past 15 years and see how you are and your general character as a human being. And it's just a pleasure to have you here, man. Your knowledge about so many things is so vast. And we'll let you take us home, brother.
Yeah, go ahead, Udo.
Say whatever you want to, Udo.
Thank you very much for attending this hour. And whenever you are traveling in Europe, every colleague is welcome here, and we have a lot to see. And we have no corner in our workshops which is hidden. Everything is open. We love to discuss, and we love critics as well, because we are learning from it. And when you have any question, please write an email, steingraber@steingraber.de, and I try to answer it in time. I'm not very good in being quick in answering. So thank you, and enjoy your weekend. And stay confident and healthy.
Yes.
Thank you for all of that, Udo. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon. I will sign us off. I'll be in touch with you by email about further projects and so forth. Thank you for everyone for attending. It's so wonderful to see all your lovely faces here, and every single one of you is part of this community that helps make this happen. So we really appreciate you being here, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time. Remember that you can catch us live online every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
That's right. Go to pianotechradio.com to register so you can interact live and ask questions of our guests.
See you next week.